We should go.
Okay. Good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Township of Fairfield's Board of Adjustment meeting for April 16th, 2024, which is our regular meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Steve, can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Moriano, Mr. Honorata,
Here.
Mr. Metallo,
Here.
Mr. Baskinger,
Here.
Mr. Travato,
Here.
Mr. Carmagnola,
Here.
Mr. Iania,
Here.
Mr. Iveron,
Here.
Mr. Fiatarolo,
Here.
Chairman Lapari.
Here. Also in attendance tonight is our board attorney Lou Rago, our township engineer and board secretary Steve Berry, our planner John Zabo, and our transcription by Margot Biblin. Our next regularly scheduled meeting is May 21st, 2024. Let it be stated that adequate notice for the time and date for this meeting was posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building and delivered to the Star Ledger and the Progress, and that no case will be allowed to start its presentation after 11 p.m. First order of business, can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the March 19th, 2024 regular meeting?
Make a motion.
Mr. Ianni, a second.
I'll second it.
Mr. Carmagnola, roll call, please.
Mr. Honorata,
Yes.
Mr. Metallo,
Yes.
Mr. Baskinger,
Yes.
Mr. Travato,
Yes.
Mr. Carmagnola,
Yes.
Mr. Iania,
Yes.
Mr. Fiatarolo,
Yes.
Chairman Lapari.
Yes. On to memorialization of resolutions. 2023-22 Courtyard Gardens, 212 Passaic Ave, Block 2201, Lot 15. That came before us for preliminary and final major site plan and a D variance. Can I have a motion on that memorialization?
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Metallo, second. Mr. Travato, roll call, please.
Mr. Honorata,
Yes.
Mr. Metallo,
Yes.
Mr. Baskinger,
Yes.
Mr. Travato,
Yes.
Mr. Carmagnola,
Yes.
Chairman Lapari.
Yes. Okay, we have some old business to deal with. We have a couple of letters regarding application 2023-5 Daniel Sarica, 81 Passaic Ave, and application 2023-6 Route 46 East LLC. Lou, we got letters from Mr. Kiaya,
Right.
and we're going to kind of send them down for the next meetings.
We can carry them without, unless there's a time limit. Steve, do we have?
No.
Up against the time limits?
No, they can.
We can carry them till what, May?
May 21st?
The May 21st meeting, no further notice required. 7:30 in this room.
Okay, no further notice required. Steve, there might be a notice change or something on one of those anyway for Hawk
Right,
Row.
yeah, the car wash.
They may have
Car
to
wash has to
Yeah, they
renotice
have
for a
to.
couple of different things,
Okay.
but, okay, good.
That's good.
Both of them on May 2.
Yeah, both of, yeah, I mean, unless we get told, they both should go to the 21st of May. All right, before we start, our agenda lists a residential, and then we have specialty farm source, 2 more residentials. I'm going to change the lineup a little bit. I'm gonna try to get the 3 residentials in None of them are massive, but we do have a few things to discuss, and then we can get on to the business of specialty. With that, going on to new business, application 2023-19 Pasqualino La Sousa, 120 Big Piece Road, block 5101, lot 30, requiring D variances. Whoever's here for that application, please come up.
There was no D for Pasqualino, it's just a C.
Oh, C variance.
Yeah.
Did I say D?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Losing. Steve, we're good on notices on all the applications?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Take it away.
How are you? Greg Waga, architect, here on behalf, representing the applicant, who is also in attendance this evening. We are presenting to you a modification, a slight modification to the application that was presented to and approved by this board back on November 21st of 2023. If you recall, we had 7 applications that I presented that evening on behalf of numerous applicants within the municipality, and inadvertently, through all the schemes and concepts that we had prepared with our clients, one of them slipped by and was misappropriated. Yes, sir.
Mr. Watt, I'm sorry, I apologize. If you could raise your right hand, please.
Oh, sure.
With regard to this application, and will you be dealing with others tonight?
No, this is our
Okay.
only one, yes.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give has been and will be the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So continuing on, one of the iterations of stair designs was inadvertently misrepresented on that evening. I thank the board for their continued patience. So what we're looking for this evening is an approval on a stair system at the front yard only. All other remaining aspects of the perimeter of the plan that was presented on the 21st of November.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Waga, can you step up to the other side and make sure your mic is on? It's just for the record more than for us hearing you.
And is what we're looking at what we've received, what the board members have in front of them?
Yes,
Okay,
sir. Yeah,
okay.
dated 4 March of this year.
Very good.
That being said, the only modification to the plan that was previously presented and approved by this board last November is the front stair. The design was changed in order to accommodate a lower profile from Big Piece Road. In doing so, we had to modify the front yard setback from just over 29 feet to 24.76 feet. Better, there you go. I'll hold it if we need to 24.76 feet. And what we did was, instead of making a stair directly off of what will be an existing platform, a relocated platform, and then stepping down a couple of steps and then providing for a 3-tier taller stair scenario, we've now implemented a 2-tier lower profile stair, a bit closer to Big Piece Road, but if you recall, we do have an approximate 9 to 11 foot buffer in various areas. In this particular case, it's almost 10 feet to the curb line, which provides us with about a 35-foot buffer between face of curb to the front portion of the stair at only the left side. At the right side, we're well over 35 feet of the stair. And I know the board was very amenable towards the fact that this is a wide open area here. There are no other encumbrances which would diminish or take away from any aesthetic appeal to the remaining portion of the surrounds.
Mr. Waga, can you just for the record, you were very eloquent in all those other applications. Can you give us a quick comment about why you're here in general, about the grants and about what that we're trying to accomplish with these properties?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So we were subsequently retained by and commissioned by the state to elevate originally 20 applicants in their homes to get them out of the flood zone. We were then assigned 16 out of the 20 as 4 applicants did drop out of the program. Out of those 16, 7 had to appear in front of the board because of various setbacks and or bulk requirements. We presented on all those 7 applicants, and again, the point of this is to get these applicants and property owners out of harm's way, elevate their homes to 3 feet above floodplain, and secure them a better lifestyle moving forward.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
The board, this was fairly recent, so I'm sure the board remembers all the applications in this one in particular. Just to review one more time, the difference you're asking for is, what was it? It was 29 something?
We were just over 29 feet, Mr. Chairman, and now we're at 24.76 on only the left side of the stair.
Right.
Because the property is set up like a parallelogram. So the front and rear yard are parallel, and so are the left and side yard, but they're angled, okay? So in doing so, the home is set up parallel to the, skewed on the front yard, and it's actually, the side yards are parallel to the side yards. So that being said, the front yard is a little closer on the left side. The front corner of the house is a little closer on the left side than it is on the right. And so that difference, in discussing this again with the engineering team here in town, which was very accommodating, Steve and Jen and everybody else, we were able to come up with a solution that worked best, least intrusive, lower profile from the street now. Again, subsequently, we're here because the change was sufficient enough, which it created a reappearance here by myself.
Thank you. Would that be your presentation?
Yes, sir.
Field, any questions?
Yes, sir.
Any questions for Mr. Waga? Yes, Len.
Mr. Waga, essentially what you're asking for is a little bit more run for rise.
Yes, sir.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Construction, all the methodology of materials that I testified to back in November hasn't changed. Actually, the foundation has changed slightly. We actually have less posts now that are visible from Big Piece, less posts and footings, and now will just be more stair and more appealing rail than anything else.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions from the board for Mr. Waga? Hearing none, I'd like to open it up to the public for anyone who has any questions. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board. Do you need to close, Greg, or you want me to?
No, I think I hope I've sufficed my presentation with what I've said.
Back to the board for discussion or motion. Just one question, Lou. You'll be able to tie this change into, and it carries with the resolution and the rest of the things that we came up with from the prior application approval?
Yes, I wasn't sitting with the board in the prior approval. There were a couple stragglers that I dealt with, but I'm assuming whatever conditions were in the previous approval will hold into this this approval if the board so approves it. Any other conditions that were there are now here as well.
Yes, sir, and I don't believe, Mr. Rego, at this point, you and I had a conversation about this, and I know you couldn't make it that night.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't believe there were any
Okay.
conditions on this particular application. There were on 2 or 3 others, and they've since been accommodated for, submitted
right.
back to Steve's office for review and approval.
What I would probably do in the event of an approval is to put a condition, just anything
fine.
previously, that unless the board's changed it, anything previously is gonna remain.
A
and
placeholder,
you're
yes,
compliant
sir.
with it. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, Mr. Baskinger?
I just have one question. Is there, I didn't notice any landscape technical plan, and I know it doesn't have to be a big plan, but I'm assuming that the platform of the stairs is gonna be roughly around 5 foot high, going by the amount of steps.
Correct,
Is
correct.
there any intention to put a few shrubs in front of the?
Oh, yeah, I can speak, and again, I can speak upon, on behalf of Pat, who's sitting right behind me. Deanna, his wife, is, she can't wait to relocate and redo her landscaping, right? So as I alluded to back in November, we became very intimate with all our applicants here, and especially those that had to appear in front of the board. So yes, sir. If we can make if that's a condition that needs to be applied, Mr. Rego, we can do that.
Appropriate landscaping.
Yes,
yeah.
and it will be.
Just so the
It will
platform's
be.
not
No,
out there
they're,
by
they're,
itself and
they're
Yeah.
Japanese maple, they're evergreens, some are too mature to transplant, but they're gonna do their best, and again, they've got a very nice home, they're gonna maintain the aesthetic integrity.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So anyone who makes the motion, then you'll add a condition of approval that, that a certain amount of landscaping needs to be done and maybe just approved by the township engineer or whatever.
And prior conditions are still in effect if
Still in
any?
effect, yes, sir.
Right, before I ask for a motion on this, Mr. Metallo and Mr. Travato were not present at the last time we approved this application, so they're gonna recuse themselves, and with Mr. Moriano not here today,
Well, they'd be good, they would be good for this. This is a separate, this is not, in addition to what we first said, we're adding this to it. This is I think this is a standalone application.
Standalone this evening, yes,
It's
sir.
going from 24.9 to, or 29 to 24.76.
we could do that, or we have 7 others that could
Okay,
just vote on it.
either way, either way.
All right, let them stay recused, and then, with that, we'll have Mr. Fiatarola, Mr. Ivorone, and Mr. Iannia voting on this application. With that said, can I have a motion for approval?
I move to approve application number 2023-19, closed paren, based upon the previous conditions and the conditions about the appropriate landscaping.
Okay, Jerry, can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Baskinger, roll call, please.
Remind me again who's recused.
Recused is Moriano, Metallo, and Travato.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Baskinger,
Yes.
Mr. Carmignola,
Yes.
Mr. Iannia,
Yes.
Mr. Ivorone,
Yes.
Mr. Fiatarola,
Yes.
Chairman Lapari.
Mr. Honorado also, right? Steve, Mr. Honorado?
Yes.
Super lawyer.
Oh, sorry.
Super lawyer.
I did not call you.
And-
Sorry, Jerry.
And me, yes. Thank you, Mr. Waga.
Thank you again for your continued support.
Continue to do
Thank
good
you.
work in the
And
state.
we've already got our first application to the building department, so you're gonna see some nice things this summer.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you.
Stay well.
Yeah, you wouldn't not fail us.
All right, so changing our order, we are gonna go to the next new order of business. Application 2023-21, 10 Big Piece Road LLC, 10 Big Piece Road, Block 5403, Lot 17, requiring C variances tonight. Anyone up for this application, please come up.
Oh, okay, you do it from there? Okay.
I'm sorry. You really go over this stuff, don't you? You really dig into this.
I want to make sure, I want to have a hard time not sounding stupid, so I try my best to get it as right as I
Your
can.
wife would not agree with that.
This is true. Mr. Kiai, how are you tonight?
Good evening, Chairman. Forgive the mask tonight. I have a cough, and I'm just trying to keep my germs to myself. Represent the owner, Lek Taetong, 10 Big Piece Road. He is one of my 2 witnesses. The other one is Frank Matarazzo, who will be testifying tonight on the dual expertise of civil engineer and planner. And he'll be the first witness that we could swear in, if it pleases the board.
If you could raise your right hand, with regard to this application, do you swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth?
Yes, I do.
Could you state your name, spell your last name, please?
Frank Matarazzo, Matarazzo.
You've appeared in front of this board previously.
Just a few times.
You're testifying as an engineer and a planner.
Correct.
Okay, are those licenses still in effect, still in
Yes.
good standing? Okay. It's up to the board.
Of course, Frank is accepted.
Thank you, Chairman. Frank, would you please review for the board the plans that you prepared right here?
Yes.
Um,
Start off, we have,
Do we have, the plans we have, are they marked in green?
no, this is a colorized version.
Why
of
don't
the
we
plans
mark that
you have.
A1 then, colorized version of the site plan? Thank you.
So the site is located on the southerly side of Big Piece Road, 2 lots in from Horseneck Road. It's located in the R1 zoning district, surrounded by single-family residential uses. The lot on the corner of Big Piece and Horse Neck is occupied as a commercial use, as a preschool. The lot to the rear, on the southerly side of the property, is a wooded site. Formerly, there was a single-family dwelling on this property, which was destroyed during Hurricane Irene. And the applicant tried to repair the property, repair the building, which it basically was unrepairable. And he removed the structure and just left the foundation. And the foundation sat like that for many years. He began to reconstruct the foundation, and he has raised the block of the foundation up to be above the flood elevation. The existing foundation that's there has several nonconformities with regards to setbacks, front yard and side yard. The existing setbacks are for side yard of 13.3 feet, which is located on the right side of the property. Then there's a 14.45-foot setback on the left side and 21.8 for a front yard setback.
Frank, I'm sorry, those are the new variances?
Those are the existing setbacks to
Oh,
the
okay.
foundation,
Okay.
okay? So the proposal is to construct a two-story dwelling on top of the existing foundation with a small addition to the left rear corner of the building. All the existing setbacks will remain as non-conforming. We're not expanding the footprint and not further encroaching onto any setbacks. So the project will comply with building height, building coverage, and impervious area. There was a memo from the board engineer regarding bringing up an issue regarding the second-story combined setbacks. The second-story combined setbacks, if I show you on the architectural plan, if you could see, the second story does not go on top of the existing garage. But if you look at our site plan, the whole thing is hatched and says proposed two-story dwelling. But there is no second story on top of the garage area. So, calculating the second story setbacks, we have a combined setback of 41.75, where 40 would be the minimum required, or the max, whatever it was, 40 would be the allowable. The applicant has applied for a NJDEP flood hazard area permit for this new development and has received approval. So as far as the variances, I believe that the variances sought can be granted pursuant to a C1 variance criteria of the MLUL, particularly C1 paragraph C, which is by reason of extraordinary situation uniquely affecting a piece of property or the structures lawfully existing thereon, would result in peculiar or exceptional practical difficulties and undue hardship to the developer. The house was a lawfully existing structure with non-conforming setbacks with regards to the front yards and side yards. We are merely just replacing the first story that was there and adding a second level with no further expansion into the setbacks. For C2 criteria, granting of the variance would advance the purposes of the MLUL, and the benefits of granting the variances would substantially outweigh any detriments. The purposes of the act that are being advanced, in my opinion, is paragraph I, to promote a desirable visual environment. The overall improvements to the structure and property represent a substantial improvement of the premises, creating a desirable visual environment. Also, paragraph E of the MLUL, creating a newly remodeled home would serve the purposes of creating the appropriate location for residential development. The property is zoned for single family, and we are proposing a single family. Also, paragraph G of the MLUL, to promote sufficient space in appropriate locations for a variety of agricultural, recreational, residential, and commercial uses, both public and private. We are proposing a single-family home located in a R1 single-family dwelling zoning district. As far as benefits and positive criteria, by permitting the variances, the structure will be improved, enhancing the overall appearance and functionality of the home. The home will be raised up in order to comply with NJDEP regulations. Negative criteria, by granting of the requested variances, there will be no substantial detriment to the zone plan nor the surrounding properties. In my opinion, the benefits of granting the front and side yard variances will outweigh any negative impacts.
Frank, was anything done to improve the setback in the front from what was there before to what's there now?
Yeah, actually, the home as it was before had a front staircase coming out in the front of the house. Fairfield measures front yard setbacks to the bottom of the step, of the front step. That's been removed, and the applicant designed a new stairway in the front of the building to stay within this notched area. So instead of having the front door coming out facing the road, it's now coming in on the side, and he's got steps and platforms to come out to the front of the house. So he's actually staying, he's doing all that within the same setbacks of the existing foundation.
Would you comment on the New Jersey DEP approval? He's lifting the lower floor up, right?
Yes.
And is that approval a benefit to the community?
Yes, it takes the house out of the floodplain, which he's already received approval from the DEP. The house will have a crawl space and flood ports, your typical floodplain construction.
That concludes our testimony.
Questions for Mr. Matarazzo, either as a planner or as an engineer? I have one, Frank. It's gonna sound like a rough one, but I gotta ask it. The whole house was destroyed, right?
Yes.
Leaving just the foundation. Isn't it proper planning, proper zoning in a town that if you've lost a certain percentage, if not all of the home, that the foundation should be ripped up and a new house should be put down that doesn't have to sit on pre-existing non-conforming variances and just conform? Like, isn't that usually the proper step after something to the next level?
Yeah, see, the way this actually happened was he started to remodel the house when there was a structure there. But during the course of construction, this had to come down, that had to come down, this was damaged, that was damaged. So he wound up removing the whole structure. But then he did improve the foundation. He actually reconstructed it. It's basically a new foundation that's there.
Yeah, so why couldn't he have reconstructed it legally and not need side yards and not need, and I know the combined yard isn't an issue, but front, he's got plenty of room also. He wouldn't have needed a front yard, and he wouldn't have needed the side yard. And, you know, my esteemed colleague Marty Moriano's not here, but I've been with him for 20 years, and that's the question that Marty would ask, I'm gonna ask. Why not just start over and conform?
It's a good point. Actually, if he was to start over, let's say he was to knock the house down and build a brand new one.
Right.
We're proposing a building coverage, of about 10.8%,
Okay.
which he's permitted 25%. He
Right.
could build a much larger home.
and bring it out the back and still conform to all the other, laws.
Right, so,
Okay.
we're actually proposing a house that's half the allowable building coverage. Similarly with the impervious coverage, with the, considering the size of the lot, he's permitted a 7,800 square feet of impervious coverage. And he's proposing 2,500 and change. So basically a third of what he's permitted for impervious coverage and a half of allowable building coverage.
So you're saying to consider balancing all of that square footage, all that impervious coverage up against just a foot and a half on a side yard and a couple of feet in the front yard?
Exactly.
Okay, thank you, Frank. Any other questions?
Is there a legal answer to that question, counsel, do you know? That seems to me to
Is
be
that
legal.
still in play or no?
No.
Okay.
Legally, you're here to give variances where there's a good cause.
No, I know why we're here, but the question is, the house has been basically severely compromised. The chairman raises a legitimate question. If it's been that compromised, if you know, as a matter of law or policy, should the applicant just be required to basically, since the house is so compromised, go back and build it within the confines of the current zoning ordinance? The legal question, right?
The legal answer that is that if he wishes to build in the existing footprint, which was there before, he would need some variances. He's chosen to come before this board to ask for variances. It's something that's already existing, that's there. What you're saying is, is he truly grandfathered anymore because so much of the house was taken down as a result of the way it was dilapidated? I see your point, but legally, I think the applicant is coming here with professional testimony that shows that he's reached the standard under the C1 and C2 arguments. There's enough elements here that make sense for why this is a good application for Fairfield, and that's more than enough justification for this board to rule in his favor.
Other questions of Mr. Matarazzo? Mr. Carmignola?
Frank, you're saying there was no proposed addition on this house here?
No, in the left rear corner, he's squaring off
Okay, because that's,
the back.
I thought you said there was no.
No,
addition on
just the left rear corner,
the
yes.
Back over here, which I have. How many feet would this house have to go back to meet for him not to be here tonight?
We have a front yard setback of 21.8,
14 feet?
14 feet.
So you're talking 14 feet on a foundation that he needs to put in brand new to not be here tonight.
Yes.
Thank you.
Other questions for the planner engineer? Seeing none, bring it to the audience. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Matarazzo? Seeing none, we'll bring it back. Thank you, Frank.
Unless the board has any questions of the applicant, we think we've put enough evidence into the record here to ask the board humbly for an approval.
Do you have any other witnesses?
I beg your pardon?
Do you have any other witnesses?
No.
Okay, all right.
Ask the board the question. It's a nice whether or not we feel that we need to ask the owner any questions.
Well, I have a question in that respect. Who is the owner? I see it says 10 Big East Road LLC. Who's here on behalf of them?
Let's swear him in. This is Lek Tatok.
Sir, if you could raise your right hand, please. With regard to this application, do you swear your testimonies shall be the truth?
Yes.
Could you state your name and spell your last name, please?
Lek Tathong.
Why don't you spell your first name also?
Lek, L-E-K. Last name Tathong, T-A-U-T-H-O-N-G.
L-E-K-T-A-U.
T-H-O-N-G.
O-N-G. And your first name?
Lek, L-E-K.
Lek is the first name. There you
Okay.
go, slash it
And
right
are
there.
you the owner of the property?
I am.
And are you 10 Big Piece Road LLC?
I am.
Just you?
No,
Who else is involved?
my wife.
Oh, okay. You can have a seat. All right, thank you.
Jared, do you have any further questions?
2017?
Have you ever lived there?
No.
Is it your intention to live here once you do this, or you're going to just resale it?
I'm gonna resell it. I live in a separate residence here in Fairfield also.
Did anybody live there after you bought it? Was someone renting it? You know?
A family lived there. They were displaced by Irene, from what I understand from the neighbors. I didn't know them personally. They had some, family and marital issues post Irene. The place was abandoned, not maintained. So originally, we went in there with the intention of doing a remodel. We got issued building permits with the small addition that was mentioned before off the rear left-hand side of the house. But once we started work, it was kind of a dangerous situation where, girder beams, structural beams, the entire sill plate shifted. There wasn't much wood structure to save there, and we were kind of working against ourselves to try to remedy it.
Yeah, everybody thinks that flip this house on TV so easy. It's not, right?
Yeah, that unfortunately, because of the high water table there, and it being, unmaintained for so many years, the humidity just kind of took over the inside of that property. There wasn't, anything to save.
Okay.
So you took it down to the foundation, is that correct?
To the foundation,
And that's
that's right.
how it stands today?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah,
built up
Mr.
the
Travana.
Well, we took it down to foundation and then built up the foundation to the new floodplain. So originally, when Phil Sheff was here, we had made an agreement that, okay, we're gonna do the work now to kind of make it safe, and then apply for the DEP and everything else.
Mr. Travana, got a question?
That answered my question.
Okay. Other questions for the owner? Yeah, Lou.
I wanted to address one thing that the chairman raised, and that Mr. Honorato followed through on. I think if you had 10 owners, 10 separate owners of this property, one at a time, 10 might say, the foundation's there already, I'm well under the impervious coverage, I need a little relief, and I'm gonna just leave the foundation as it is, fix it up, and build what was there, size-wise. Another 5 might say, look, I'm gonna level the whole thing, build a larger house, and not need any variances. I think it's neither one's a legal requirement, it's just the way a property owner would look at this. The fact that it's well under, I know what pervious coverage means to this board, and there's ample pervious coverage on this property. Someone could come along and build a much bigger house and push up against the pervious. But there's no right or no wrong on this thing. This is what he's chose to do. It's a smaller house. He needs some relief, which is set forth in Steve's memo, and I just didn't want the board to think that because he hasn't leveled the site and built a conforming house, that it's bad. Someone might do that, and other people, I don't know what's more expensive, or I don't know. Probably to dig a whole new foundation and put the house somewhere else, but,
Unfortunately, the rear of the property, the wooded area,
yes.
is kind of like a floodplain. So a lot of overflow water, as
Yeah.
many of you know, go around that neighborhood.
Yeah.
So even a shed that we have in the back
Yeah.
that was previously always dry, as the years have gone by, the water tables come up and up and up, and now there's a watermark on the last storm. All the lawn equipment and
Yeah.
everything that was in storage in there is gone.
No, I just didn't want the board to feel that
Yeah, so the rear of the property is the
because you've
worst part of
chosen
it.
to do this approach, that you should be punished in any way. If you came in, well, you wouldn't have to come in if you built a house that conformed, maybe moved it around a little bit, it might be bigger. You could probably build it as a matter of right, but,
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Travana.
As far as the rest of the homes on that block, are your setback, is that consistent with the rest of the homes on the block as it is now?
It is with the adjacent properties. Property right in front of us is very similar. The property to the left is. As you go towards the rec center, though, the homes kind of vary. But I would say the middle of Big Piece Road is very similar in terms of anyone who's done new work has similar type of raised home.
But as far as the setback, that line, you know, as far as your neighbors, as you look across.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, they look very similar. You know, even lot 4
Yeah.
is even more forward.
And you're not encroaching any further than what we're seeing here?
No,
Okay.
no.
Mr. Vitale, do you have a question?
I'd like to make a comment. I thought your comment as well as Mr. Rago's were excellent, both pointing out, and you cited Marty's feelings, and you're accurate, you did that accurately, but I also have sat with him for years on this board, and I happen to know one of his very strong feelings is about impervious, okay? And I look at it that he could go out to 7,800 square feet of impervious, and I think that Marty, I wish I knew how Marty felt. I wish he was here, but I tend to agree in this case that this is the lesser of the two evils.
Yeah, I appreciate that too, and we'll get to it. You guys, we're talking like we're back for comments and motion. Let's finish the testimonies and then we'll get to that part. Any other questions specifically for the owner? Seeing none, I'd like to open it to the public. And seeing none, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
John, do you want to close it anyway, or?
I just wanted to point out to the board that there is no one here from the public either that would give an outcry here about this. It's important in some ways. I know this board is very sensitive to how the neighborhood feels.
Yeah, thank you, John. So we'll bring it back for comment or a motion. I'm going to be the first to comment. Hey, I bring up what I brought up because I wasn't trying to punish or condemn the owner, and Marty would agree with me that the best way to fix variances in this when you're in a zoning board is to not have them. And building a proper house is a way to not have variances, and we are supposed to look to do that every chance we get, or minimize what they're requesting as best as we can. I posed that to Frank Matarazzo, even though I'm not against this application, but I needed that logic argued, and he argued it well. He talked about the square footage increases, the impervious increases. The owner made mention to how much water runs in the back. Displacing more water hurts, and when you look at how little this is displacing, I've come around to and realized the fact that the positives of keeping it this size outweighs the idea of trying to get rid of as many variances as possible when we're able to do so. So, you know, I wanted the question argued a little bit, but I agree with what Rich said, that Marty might have started the same way I did and then might have finished with, but when you look at the impervious and the water displacement and such, that my bet would be that he would approve also. So that would be mine. If anyone else has a comment, or if someone would like to make a motion.
Mr. Chairman, just
Yeah,
one
Brian.
comment. As much as we talk about there's only using 10%, in the future, there is an ability to max out their 35%. There's no way for us to control it unless they're gonna expand upon the side yard setback. So, although it's a valid point and probably not gonna be used in that fashion, they do have the opportunity to max out the property, whether it's with the pool, whether it's with the addition on the house. Just a
That's a
thought.
great point, Brian. It's true.
That's a good point.
Yep. And that's why we're here. So I just wanted to remind everybody that without Mr. Moriano here tonight, at this application, Mr. Iania will be a voting member. With that said, and all the logics thrown out there, would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Honorata.
Move to approve application number 2023-21, owner 10 Big Piece Road LLC. I believe we're looking for 3 variances here. I would move
Yes,
to-
during Steve Berry's memo, the bottom.
I would move to the granting of all 3 variances.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
I will second.
Second. If Mr. Vitale grabbed the second first. Roll call, please.
Mr. Honorana.
Yes.
Mr. Metallo.
Yes.
Mr. Baskinger.
Yes.
Mr. Travato.
Yes.
Mr. Carmignola.
Yes.
Mr. Iania.
Yes.
Chairman Lepari.
Yes. Good luck. Hope everything goes well with the bill.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank the board and and your staff as well. Thank you very much.
I don't know, I was turned into a cupcake.
Yeah, I would like, think so.
Where was this? I would not want to be in New York, man. I can handle a New York court. Talk about gladiator.
All right, continuing with the residential section of our meeting tonight. Application 2024-5, John Perone, 19 Phillip Drive, Block 3909, Lot 18, requesting C variances. Please come up. John, how are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good. Lou, would you like to swear Mr. Perone in?
Sure, if you could raise your right hand, please. With regard to this application, do you swear your testimony shall be the truth?
I do.
And for the record, state your name and spell your last name again, please.
John Perone, Perrone,
And will there be any other witnesses tonight other than you?
just myself.
And you're the property owner and the applicant?
Yes.
Okay.
John, why don't you have a seat, relax, make sure the mic is on, the green.
Yep, it's on.
And, okay, why don't you give us an overview, John, of you and your family, a little bit of history, and tell us about yourself.
I grew up in Fairfield. My family's been here for as long as I can remember. I still live in Fairfield on Ramkay Drive. My kids go to, Churchill in West Essex. They're 10 and 15.
And that's that, yeah, okay. And,
I'm a lifelong resident.
okay, now, give us a little history of when you bought this house, why you bought this house, whether you were gonna live there, whether it was an investment to improve the Fairfield. Give us a little history on that.
I bought the house in August. I bought it to improve the neighborhood and resell the house. And, I kept it into the, what I did to the house, kept the integrity in the neighborhood. House came out very good. And, it's,
Yeah. All right, now, at some point, you were comfortable with everything you were doing, you thought you were on
Correct.
track. It turned out that you got a little bit derailed, a little to your surprise. Give us a quick synopsis of what happened, not so much what engineers did or didn't do, just synopsis that you ran into a bit of a roadblock, and then explain to us what you're asking for tonight
Okay.
because of that roadblock.
well, the roadblock basically was, we were, building, I built the house. I'm here for a C variance for a front porch overhang over existing steps. So we built the overhang with the integrity of the neighborhood and, for the look of the house.
And you thought at the time with the front that you had and the curved front that you thought you were legal there, and maybe you
Yeah, it
went to
was-
find out that it was a little bit
Yeah,
different
we
than what you
didn't
thought.
think that it was any, it was over the existing steps. We didn't think it was gonna be, the coverage was gonna be an issue.
Okay. All right, and the existing steps, were the steps redone, or are they in the position that they were originally?
Steps were exactly where they were.
Okay, and as what you're asking for here is you're asking for 29.3 versus a 35 on the front yard to the step,
Yes,
which is a pre-existing condition.
yep,
And then you're asking for the covered entry, which is 31.6 versus 35. So the overhang doesn't go out as far as the pre-existing stairs did,
Right.
but it does go out, and it's new construction, so you're here asking.
Yes.
Okay. All right, I got the,
Reside here, Mr. Perron?
Sorry?
Reside here?
At the 19 Phillip?
Yes.
No, I don't. I live at 12 Ramsgate Drive.
I assume you're selling the house?
Yes.
And you inadvertently came across this problem recently, you didn't realize it?
Yes. Yes. Yep.
questions for the applicant?
John, the original plans that you submitted to the town, did they have this overhang on it?
The original plans did, and we got rid of our original architect, and then a new architect, Art Stone in Caldwell, came aboard. And when we did the plans, they put a window in instead of the overhang, which we weren't looking to do a window because we tried to keep the integrity of the neighborhood in the house, and all the houses around the neighborhood have the overhangs. So we wanted to keep it kind of simple to the neighborhood. And then they resubmitted with the overhang. So the updated plans have it on there.
With the overhang being at 30, is it 29.3?
29.3, yes.
No, the overhang is 31.6.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
31.6.
Mr. Crone, do you feel as though you would have been able to, be a little more flexible with your build-out if this lot was different, or if it was sitting back farther away from the road?
Absolutely. The lot is very large. The rear lot, it's, I think the lot is .78, I believe, the whole lot. But the front is a little narrow, and it's in different sections. It goes different angles
Right.
because it's around the bend.
Yeah, it's right on the bend there on Phillip, yeah.
And this is all new construction basically have in place now.
It,
So it fits the house the way you
yes,
did it.
absolutely.
That's it, got it.
I put a picture of the house with everything on there.
Other questions for Mr. Perone?
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, Mr. Bass.
I'm not sure if this was mentioned before, but in no way, shape, or form, the foundation was altered, right?
No.
This was a rebuild
a
on top of
rehab,
the
yeah.
existing foundation?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Perone? Seeing none, I'd like to bring it to the public for any questions from anybody that they would have. Seeing none, bring it back to, anything, John, you'd like to say in closing, or would you like us to bring it back to the board?
No, I think I do a great job when I build houses, and I try to keep it to the neighborhood. I'm from the town, so I'm very familiar with the town, with the real estate in the town, and, I love it here. So I try to build it accordingly to the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. Bring it back to us for a discussion or a motion. I'd just like to make some points here in the discussion that the applicant did improve and update the town by improving and updating this house. The front yard is tight to an odd-shaped but large lot. He is on the bend. There may have been some confusion as to where the front step would measure to. I believe if there was any confusion on the applicant's part, that it absolutely wasn't intended to be that way. I think when you drive by and you do the eye test to it, it's the light and air in the front compared to with that lot and the lots next door. Also, it blends into the neighborhood and improves the neighborhood. And, I'll be in favor if somebody does choose to make a motion for approval. If anyone else has any comments they'd like to make or make a motion.
I just agree with you, Chairman. What he's done to the house, from what it was to what he's done, definitely improved the neighborhood, definitely conforms with the neighborhood, did a beautiful job.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I think it fits in well with the neighborhood, so aesthetically for the community, I think.
Thank you.
Top job.
Right. Right, then can Can I have a motion?
I move to approve application number 2024-5. John Perone is the owner for the C variances. And by the way, Mr. Chairman, I think the witness was very credible. I agree with your assessment also, so I see no
Thank
problem.
I appreciate that.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Mr. Travato is the second. Roll call, please. Same thing with the voting today with Mr. Iania voting already out.
Mr. Honorata.
Yes.
Mr. Metallo.
Yes.
Mr. Baskinger.
Yes.
Mr. Travato.
Yes.
Mr. Carmagnola.
Yes.
Mr. Iania.
Yes.
Chairman Lapari.
Yes. Good luck, John.
Thank you, I appreciate it, gentlemen, thank
Okay.
you. I was a little nervous because everybody else had somebody else, I didn't. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Yes, Travato.
I want to talk to John. Guys, this next application, I don't have any reports.
I sent it to you.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Send it to me?
Let me show you.
Don't get pissed, John.
Oh, no, I'm making sure I sent it to you.
No, I just got the files tonight.
No, no.
Oh, good. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yep, you got it.
Okay. Yeah.
Miss your old life with all those residential.
Mystery.
There you go.
Steve lied. He opened it.
We're on it.
Do occupancy. We're gonna go on straight.
DJ Uger.
We getting some relief, Mr. Bassinger?
How's Marty doing with his work? Just okay. All right, here we go. Okay, on to continued new business. Thank you for the patience in this application to get through our residentials. Application 2019-72, Specialty Pharmasource, 161 Dwight Place, Block 601, Lot 52. They are here requesting D variance, preliminary, and final major site plan. Counselor, how are you tonight?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Let's try it.
You got all those bases covered.
Let's try. Let's try all three. Maybe I'll get it right. Lawrence Escatello, the O'Toole Scrivo Law Firm, appearing on behalf of 161 Dwight Place, Fairfield, New Jersey. If you don't mind, I'd like to take a couple seconds to reacquaint the board to the application.
Sure.
Before I call any witnesses.
Absolutely.
So, as you've gathered from the name, the applicant is a pharmaceutical research and development company. The property at 161 Dwight Place, Block 601, Lot 52, is an irregular trapezoid-shaped light industrial property in the L1 zone. The applicant previously received preliminary and final site plan approval and D variance approval on January 22nd, 2020. The applicant's back seeking site plan approval to add an attached enclosed second floor building addition, which will go on a platform with understructure parking, and to expand an interior mezzanine set situated above part of the building's first floor. Both of those proposed expansions will add additional floor area for mechanical equipment that's necessary for the applicant to conduct its business of manufacturing injectable medicines. So we're here, we need, as you've seen from our papers and from Mr. Burry's memo, we need a D4 variance for the increased floor area. That floor area is all inside the building. and inside that enclosed platform that I just mentioned. And we also need C variance relief for parking that goes along with the increased floor area. So our plan here tonight is for me to call our architect and owner's representative, Seth Lieb, who's sitting here to my left, who will orient the board to all those changes that are going on inside the building, primarily with the floor plan, to call Chuck Stewart, who's over my right shoulder, who will orient the board to the site and the exterior changes, and then to call Jeff Stiles, our professional planner, who will go through the variance proofs.
Very good. Mr. Lieb, could you raise your right hand, please? With regard to this application, do you swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth?
I will. I do.
Is this catching, or what's it?
We'd rather give a comedy hour here, but
If you could state your name and spell
stick
your
to the
last name,
business.
please.
Sure, it's Seth A. Lieb Architect. It's L-E-E-B.
L-E-E-B. Okay, thank you.
So, Mr. Lieb, could you give the board the benefit of your educational and professional qualifications?
Sure, I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts and a Bachelor of Architecture from Rhode Island School of Design. I also am licensed in New Jersey, and my license is current since 1995. I've appeared before 70 to 80 boards in the state of New Jersey and on over 150 applications.
And your professional architect's license is current in the state of New Jersey?
Yes, it is.
At this point, I'd like to ask the board
Yeah.
to accept Mr. Lieb.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
I have a couple of exhibits to share with you.
Yeah, if we don't have, if the board does not have these, we'll mark them one at a time.
You don't have these.
If we don't have them, which I don't.
So the board, these are renderings that were put together after the submission, and
Yeah, yeah, so
we'd like
we'll
to
have to mark
them.
them one at a time.
Okay, I'm gonna mark it, the first one, which is a full frontal, we'll call it, and
And
A1.
that's A1. Full frontal?
That's okay with me. Let's go. Let's go.
Full Monty.
Okay, and the second one is the three-quarter view. It's a three-quarter view.
Okay.
We'll mark that A2.
A2.
Wasn't meant to be funny, sorry.
It's all right.
Yeah, we could use
It
it.
looks like.
Yeah, we could definitely use it. Mr. Lieb, don't worry about it. It's good.
So I'm gonna just show you, this is a rendering. It was done under my direction from our office that show what's existing and proposed. So you may remember from the previous application that this is a concrete block. It was a split face block building. It's already, if you go by there today, it's already been transformed. This was part of previous construction drawings, and we've added the color and the bands. We've added the walkway. And what we're proposing this evening is to add an addition on the side that will actually be up on stilts so that it will not take away from parking and allow parking to go underneath it. It's to, and I'll go into it further, to house mechanical equipment. That's the only function of this addition. In addition to that, we're putting a little vestibule here that's indicated in your drawings, and we're renovating the inside. This one, which is A2, which is the three-quarter view, just to show a better perspective. Can everybody see? All right. Better perspective of how the functionality of that is. These garage doors here are purely to access the equipment that's inside there. It's very large equipment to run the facility inside. Okay? So what are we proposing? Let's start with the easier one. This is a colorized version of V3 in your packet.
That'd be A3.
Exact same drawing, except
Okay.
it's colorized,
A3.
okay?
So we'll mark this A3, and we'll note that CV6, which is marked A3, is colorized version of CV V3.
I start with the second floor plan to show you, this is what exists today. There's office area up here. What we're proposing is a mezzanine in the back portion of the space.
This mezzanine's purpose is mainly to house mechanical equipment. It's not to be inhabited by any offices, nor can it be. It's designed to have a concrete waterproof deck, and it's to have almost 15 mechanical air handling units to service what's going to go on below, which I'll explain in a minute. There's also some storage area for some of their refrigeration systems, also on the mezzanine. The mezzanine also is on 3 levels. It's on a 12-foot height level, a 14-foot 8-inch level, and also a 16-foot level. The different levels are, again, to accommodate all the ductwork that is going to go under these air handlers to service the areas underneath, which I'll explain in a minute. The higher platform in the back is a whole water filtration system. It's both 2 stories. It's going to be accessed together to also service the inside. The white areas are the voids where there's no mezzanine. So this mezzanine is adding square footage to the space, but it's purely just equipment. Lower level, which is a little more complicated.
And before you proceed, this will be A4.
Sorry, this will be A4, and this is a colorized version of V2 in your packet. So it's the first floor plan. Let me mark it for you. Okay. So presently, there's office and lab space here, what we'll call research and development. There's some clean rooms in the back here. This is all new clean rooms, production, and support space. This is also existing today. The green areas are mechanical, and I'll get into the colors in a second. But in essence, this is all production to produce, as Mr. Cutella said, it's to produce life-saving injectables that will go into hospitals, and it includes not only production, but it also includes changing areas. It includes, and when I say changing areas, when you have to go from being a street person into a lab coat that's in a clean room, you have to go through a series of rooms and steps so that you get, I'm going to call it sanitized. And it has to work both ways, coming in and out of different spaces. You'll see that that occupies a lot of this space. Circulation, support, there's actually only a bulk area of production, and the production is done with a very minimal amount of people, okay? So that's that. So let me explain a little further. So also what you can see over here, this is where the addition is. Because of the parking, this is actually up a few steps from this, but it's in between. It's not on the first floor, it's not on the second floor. That's because it's a 2-story space. It holds a compressor, it holds a boiler, holds an air compressor and some other devices, some tanks, okay?
Mr. Lieb, real quick, how does that, the new mezzanine on the outside, is that access from the first floor, the second floor, or both floors?
It's access from the first floor via steps directly from inside. It's also access from outside directly steps for egress. God forbid there's a problem in there.
Thank you.
Okay?
Yeah, Mr. Iannia?
Mr. Lieb, is there service access to that room? Say you need to get in there and,
Yes.
and
So
bring components of the compressor or?
yes, so if you look at the rendering, it's garage door here, garage door here. Access this way, access this way.
No elevators, no dumb waiters?
No elevators, no dumb waiters, no nothing. Also, there's a parapet roof on it, and there's going to be a chiller on the roof of that. In addition, there's some RTUs on the top of this and a chiller. So let me take you through a little bit what these colors mean. So what are the colors? The colors are the green is mechanical areas, okay? The blue is storage, okay? And then this is, like I talked about, production, okay? Looking at this, office area, mechanicals, and storage. Okay. I want to pass out something. This is also not in your, is this submitted? No, it's not submitted. Okay. A5?
Yes.
Okay, what this is updated square footage and parking. I'm not gonna write on each one, I'll just give.
How many copies do you have?
Marked with the A5 and.
Updated.
Mr. Lee, not to jump ahead of you, but when you go through these sections, is that going to color coordinate? Is that what you're going to do with the colors on your?
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
This drawing is, we're up to A6.
Yes.
Excuse me, real quick. Gentlemen, make sure the board members that when you ask your questions, your mics are on.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
No, we can hear you mostly, because your mic is on, you're pretty close, but, you know, from our vast amount of fans on TV, there's certain board members that can't be heard. Make sure your mics are on when you guys are talking. Thank you.
So I'm gonna mark 2 of these, A6 and A7.
If you could
Okay.
briefly tell us what they are when
I
you're
will.
done marking.
I will. Okay. A6 and A7 are a colorized version blown up of V1 in your packet. So it's at a larger scale, but it's the same drawings, only colorized. Okay? Just wanted to show you again for the coloration and in relationship to the sheet. Existing storage as it exists today, existing clean rooms that are going to be renovated as part of this project, and existing offices, R&D, existing mechanical. So the mechanical's the green, this is the office, this is the production, or we'll call it clean rooms, and storage. Okay, this is for the first floor. So I just want to compare that so you can see, basically we're taking this space, renovating it. Second floor, this is the existing, little bit of mechanical, existing second floor, office, R&D. And what's proposed. So when you look at the square footage in relationship, you know, I've kind of gone through, so what's happening is basically you're having no change in the office space. You're having a large increase in the mechanical space. You're having a decrease, large decrease in the storage space, and then a complete huge increase in the manufacturing or assembly or production. Okay? So that's how it relates to the square footages in this chart. Do you have any questions?
Where will the warehouse storage be or go?
So
Where-
the
where's-
warehouse storage was, we don't need it anymore,
Uh-huh.
okay? It's not necessary, and it was potentially for future growth.
Okay.
So now the storage up here is not necessarily storage of product, but more storage of things in refrigeration units. Different items, there'll be a series of refrigeration units up there to hold the various product at different stages during testing. And, okay, as I said, there's all these air handlers, mechanical access ways to relate for egress components. Let me just take you through. Any questions with these?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
can I ask a question?
Sure. Sean.
Mr. Lee, you say air handlers, are they for the purposes of maintaining a stable
So-
environment and air filtration?
So it's both. So
Okay.
all these air handlers, there has to be one for each room or pairing, okay? Because of the air exchanges that need to take place for all the different clean rooms in production.
Air
okay?
dryers?
You name it, it's all in there. It's a pharmaceutical company. And so there's a lot of ductwork, layers of equipment. Ducts are coming over the top of it, they're going underneath it. There's a lot of piping, all sorts of different components. But these are purely for the facility.
Mr. Lee, will they vent to the exterior? Or are they closed units, or are they units that'll?
It's a combination. It's just a combination of units.
I'm just curious
There's no
to see what,
exhausting.
what happens.
It's all
top
filtered air.
side.
It's all filtered air.
I'm somewhat familiar with the process.
Okay. I'm not an expert
Okay,
in the mechanical equipment.
okay,
So I have some knowledge, not 100% knowledge.
I understand.
But I do know, for example, there's a very, very extensive water filtration system. Every droplet goes down and gets filtered through the whole system and
Understood.
either gets reused or sent out as clean water. It's a very involved process that goes through not only filtration, but filtration rooms and tanks. And I'm assuming the air does the same. Okay? Like I said, boiler and different things. What's important is what are we up to?
A8.
I think you guys are setting a record. We're on to 8. Keep going, baby. You're like Joe DiMaggio's record.
Jeez.
See how many more we can get.
I want to show this just because it helps to clarify. When you look at this, you say, there's a lot of production there, okay? There's not a lot of people. It's a lot of robotics. It's a lot of equipment. There's a lot of support. There's not that many people that actually operate the production. What this diagram shows, it's the same space at the first floor, but it breaks it down into more components. I'm just going to briefly take you through it. We kept the same color for the mechanical so that you can see the mechanical. Kept the same color for the office area, okay? Kept the same color for the production, which is that pink color, okay? What the other colors are, for example, this kind of grayish purple color, that's for all these changing rooms, all the steps that you have to go through to get into a clean room. What the beige color is, or light yellow, is all the circulation through. So you can see this is the packing of the product. This is the day hold where the product comes in, okay? And I point this out to show you that when it gets down to it, there's less rooms, less people, okay? And that's important because one of the variances we're going for, and it'll be spoken about later, is the parking, and that there isn't that many people at this facility, okay? Because to do it, a lot of it is automated, and to do the different tasks, there's maybe 2 people in there at any given time. And what happens is, on this, there's obviously administration, receptionists, 3 people in management, 1 in reception, and then there's some people that are in the R&D, but the people in the R&D also work in the lab, so there's an overlap. Then there's specific people for the lab that just do the lab and do more of the production, and then there's a few visitors that may come to the building. I think that that'll be outlined.
Mr. Lee,
yes.
what is the most number of people that's in this building at any one point in time? Worst case scenario, number of people?
50.
50.
Yes.
That's
I will
employees,
take-
visitors?
Yep. So,
Okay.
give me 1 second. So there would be 3 management people. There's a receptionist. There's 28 people in R&D, research and development. They go from the offices to the labs and back, okay? In the actual production area, there's 6 to 8 people, okay? And the maximum visitors they have at any given time are 8 people. What's also important is, of the production people, some of them do carpool, we'll hear that, and they come together like in a van.
Okay.
So the maximum people is 50 people. And I believe presently, they only have 22 people there at the location.
And you require, You're providing 54 spaces.
54 spaces. But as it is today, quite a few of the workers carpool together.
Mhm.
Okay? Any other question? Let me just take you through. This is just to kind of look back a little bit. This is in your packets, no change, V5. It's just showing the elevations, what we talked about, this addition on the side, the elevated platform with parking underneath, a little vestibule here.
So these elevations you're showing are more rudimentary versions of the
Yes.
renderings
Yeah,
that you
I'm just
previously
gonna
showed.
go back, just show you, again, the rendering here, so you can see what's going on. If you were to visit the property today, you'd see this blue, you would see the vertical components and the horizontal components. What we haven't done is we would extend that horizontal components to match the front. And the whole idea is so that this addition fits right in with the building, carries the same look, adds the insulation value on the outside, adds the elevated portion of it so that we can allow for parking, and adds the required functionality. It's really important, I can't stress this enough, we need the mezzanine to have the equipment in close proximity to the labs. Because putting it on the roof, we couldn't fit all the equipment on the mezzanine. There will be 1 or 2 or 3 RTU units on the roof for specific areas. But all the other ones go down, they're immediate, they meet the different areas. And that close proximity is very, very important.
Is that the reason for the addition then?
The addition is for additional mechanical equipment that we couldn't fit on the mezzanine, okay? And also, it's much taller equipment, so like the boiler, it needs an 18-foot height in there. There's an air compressor, a few tanks in there. Big boiler. Some things I don't know what they are. And in addition, like I said earlier in my testimony, there's going to be a chiller on this roof and a chiller on the main roof. One last thing. We've also added one thing that isn't in the drawings. After we submitted it, the owners wanted to put a little front canopy over the entranceway. So we have a little, it has their logo on it, so it demarcates where the entry is when you enter the property. It's 5 feet out by 16 feet wide, little cantilevered canopy to go over the front entry platform. I think that's it.
Okay. Why don't you leave up CV5?
Which one?
CV5?
Okay.
Are we going for 9?
No, I was
No.
just asking him to put up the.
Okay.
Two of the boards match up to, are color-coded to match the square footages in this handout that we passed out as A5. So that is Mr. Lieb's direct. Any questions of Mr. Lieb?
Mr. Chairman, I just have a
Yes,
question.
Yeah, Mr. Zabel.
I just want to clarify, because this is a floor area ratio use variance, I just want to clarify the floor areas, because I'm seeing different numbers. I just want to clarify it so that the board understands what they're looking
Okay.
at and what they're being asked to improve. The site plan shows a floor area of 33,428 as existing. That corresponds to a floor area of 0.397. There's reference in Mr. Stiles' report and your totals here of the existing being 39,839, which is a corresponding FAR 0.474. You're asking for a 56,503 square feet, but that corresponds to an FAR 0.672 versus the FAR that you have listed. I think we just need to fix that or clarify it. I just wanted the record to be clear. That's all. If you look on the site plan, the existing floor area is listed as 33,428. Mr. Stiles also references 33,428, but that there was an approval up to 39,839. What is existing? And you're showing 39,839 as existing. That all affects the numbers.
Yep.
Just
So,
want to know, for the board's sake.
Not sure.
On your sheet, yeah, you have
39,839 is
39,839,
existing.
And you're proposing 53,247?
Just tell the board what it is, so we know what FAR it is, that's all.
Yeah, yeah, no, but I just wanted to look for my own.
Sure, of course.
Because when I look at the site drawing, the 247 square feet is what's proposed. And that matches up to what's on the sheet, so I don't know what the 56 is that you're referring to.
Well, when you look at the FAR that you have listed in the table, that corresponds at .672 on the site plan? Is that your FAR there?
No, I'm looking at his
I'm
site
looking
plan.
at this, hang on.
I'm looking at his site plan, that's why
Let me
I'm
just,
puzzled.
let me unpuzzle you. Let's get the numbers straight, because maybe I'm wrong, but
Yeah, yeah.
for me, I just want to make sure the numbers are right.
Yeah, my numbers, just so you know, to be clear, mine are correct.
Okay, so you
Alright.
have
But no offense.
634.
There you go. I feel pretty confident in them.
All right, I'm okay with, no, see. No, I was looking at floor area, 6.634.
Nice.
All right, so if you could just explain the difference between the 39 and the 33 as existing, so we can just know what the numbers are.
So I can't say how he arrived at 33.
No, I'm asking
can
you,
say how I
it's
arrived at
39.
39.
Okay,
Okay.
so,
So the way I arrived at 39 is I added up the square footages.
so then the table should be corrected to reflect 39, that's all, right?
Yes.
That's all
Sorry, I
I'm
didn't
getting
quite
at.
follow what the question was. Yes, so it's 39,839 square feet is the existing, and it's at
All right,
47.
I just saw that number in one place and two different places, so we're dealing with 39, okay, that's fine.
Yes.
I just wanted it clarified.
And you're going from 47.4 FAR to 63.44
Yes.
FAR.
And that increase is due to the addition on the building
Yeah, and the mezzanine.
and the mezzanine.
And the site plan was prepared in draft form, and Mr. Lee painstakingly went through and calculated the existing interior, the newly proposed interior, and when we went to submit everything, some of the numbers didn't make it onto the site plan table. So we apologize for that, but we will
And John, what's the max, John?
revise that.
John?
Well, the max is 35%.
35, yeah. that's what I
Correct,
thought.
I mean, that's not in dispute, I just wanted a number for the sake of the record. It's supposed to be 39. Changes this number.
I'm sorry. Had mean thoughts.
John, do you have follow-up questions?
No, I wanted the clarification on the floor area so that the record's clear, that's all, Mr. Chairman.
Counselor, do you have any more testimony for the architect, or should we ask questions? or-
We have no, like I said, we're done through
Oh,
with
I'm
our
sorry.
director, Mr.
Okay.
Lieb. So happy to take
for the
questions.
architect from the board. Mr. Lieb, I'm sure some of the things that are talked about in some of the reports, the fire, maybe something that the engineer is going to talk about, you don't foresee any problems with connecting for the electric car, stalls anywhere on wherever on the building. The lighting plans that go, there's nothing outstanding for you
No.
that you'd worry about from any
I
of
did
that?
review, both reports. I didn't see anything specifically, correct me if I'm wrong, from either the engineer or the architect.
Yeah, no, but yeah, just one
Engineer
more, I
plan.
guess, while you're up here about the, you're gonna have parking underneath this elevated, platform?
Yeah.
Maybe just speak about, I mean, you're gonna have parking spots, vehicles pulling in and out, and I guess what you're gonna do structurally, since it may be in the way of, somebody parking incorrectly, let's put
So
it that way, and
the-
maybe
the
speak to
way-
the.
And you can see that on Mr. Stewart's plan, but we left a lot of ample room for underneath the parking so that there wouldn't be, I'm gonna call it, any possibility of hitting the structure. Okay, so as
Or
opposed
any
to.
Baltimore Bridge action or anything, right?
So the parking
mind,
doesn't
yeah.
butt up against one another or the columns, so it leaves ample room so that you can pull in and out of the spaces. And it was designed so that the platform was no longer than a parking space. So,
There's no container ships accessing this site, is there?
no,
No tractor trailers?
no tractor trailers.
Any other questions for the architect? Seeing none, I'd like to open it up to the public for any questions of the architect. Seeing none, Mr. Lieb, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Lieb. Okay, back to the regularly scheduled program. You all know Chuck Stewart, and I believe probably more used to seeing site plans than you are detailed floor plan submission like that.
If you raise your right hand when you can, Chuck. Thank you. With regard to this application, do you swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth?
I do.
For the record, state your name, spell your last name.
Charles Stewart, Stewart.
I think you've appeared in front of us a couple times as an engineer.
Yes, sir.
He's been accepted usually.
Is your license still in good standing?
It is.
Okay, it's up to the board.
You're accepted, of course.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Stewart, did you have an opportunity to prepare site plan drawings for this application?
Yes, I did.
And did you prepare the previous site plan drawings for the application that was approved in 2020?
Yes.
Very good. Could you orient the board to the location of the site and bring them through your site plan drawings?
Sure. I have my plans that were submitted to the board. I have them mounted on foam core. They're exactly the same, so I don't know if you want to mark them.
No, if they're exactly the same, we don't need, if they're colorized, then we may have to mark it, but
So
otherwise
we're gonna break the Lou Gehrig streak.
I was gonna say, Chuck,
You want me to mark them, I'll mark them.
if you get past Mr. Lieb, what are you doing here with that? Come on.
What's our record?
So just to get oriented here, the property is located at 161 Dwight Place, all the way down the end of Industrial, straight ahead. You almost run right into it. It's also Block 601, Lot 52. It is an 84,083 square feet, or just a little under 2-acre parcel. It's located in the L1 light industrial zone. Currently, there's an existing approximately 30,000 square foot, two-story masonry structure located on the property. There are existing parking lots on the right-hand side and on the left-hand side. The Deepoval Brook runs right parallel with the rear property line. The whole property is located within a 100-year floodplain, a flood hazard area, and a floodway. So prior to this application, we filed for permits with DEP, and we received a individual permit for the proposed improvements and the addition to the building. So we've gone there and gotten that, and the plans are essentially the same plans that were submitted to the state. So,
The flood hazard individual permit is in the package that we submitted.
So currently, there's some existing parking striping located in this right-hand parking lot. It's somewhat faded, the lot is in disrepair, needs to be repaved. The other parking lot on the left-hand side, there's currently no striping there now, it's just asphalt parking lot. And the parking areas, like the perimeter, the curb, and the entrance are all gonna be essentially remain the same. What we're gonna do is we're gonna restripe the parking lot to provide for the 54 proposed spaces. We're gonna restripe the right-hand side. That's gonna get, that right side's gonna have 41 spots, plus a loading area. The left-hand side is gonna have 13 striped spots, including the spots that are gonna be underneath the platform. There's an existing loading door currently in this back left corner, which is gonna get moved to the back. That's the spot that they wanted it. So we're gonna move that, and we're gonna add a trash enclosure, screen trash enclosure enclosure in the back corner. This proposed elevated walkway has actually, this was a part of the original plan that we were here, and this has been constructed, that's currently there. And we're proposing another one on this right-hand side. Also, we're proposing a transformer, which will be elevated up on a platform because we're in a flood hazard area. So that's gonna be located immediately adjacent to that loading area. Essentially, the building stays the same. Redo the parking lot, clean it all up, stripe it, and that's pretty much it, except for the lighting and the landscape. Might as well just jump right to it. This is sheet S4, lighting landscaping plan. We're proposing new.
Chuck, do we have that with the green?
We do, yes.
We have it.
Yes.
Okay.
Was submitted
Yeah,
in
there,
color.
I see it. Okay, thank you.
We are proposing wall-mounted lights on the building. And then we are proposing pole-mounted lights along this right-hand side parking area to illuminate that side of the parking lot. We are also proposing to landscape the front portion of the property. We're proposing 5 street trees, and then we are landscaping the existing sign, and then we're doing beds along the front for, there's approximately about 112 shrubs that are gonna go in this front area here, along with the 5 street trees. So that's pretty much the plan. I have reviewed Mr. Burry's memorandum. And if you'd like me to go through that, I would.
Only if you have something that you cannot do or object to. Otherwise, we'll assume you're okay with it. Best way to handle it.
Yeah, for sure. And the highlight of issues is the garbage removal, the lighting plan, the EV stalls, and the setbacks to the outside.
Yeah, we have no problem with that. We'll absolutely add the 2 EV spots. And
And it
I believe
doesn't-
we get a credit then of 2 more, so we actually
do.
have 56.
Yeah, great law in the state of New Jersey. You'll take what the fire department said about, you won't put the EVs under the mezzanine, probably put
Yes,
them on the other
correct.
side.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And Mr. Stewart, before we let you go back to the crowd, could you just walk the board through the parking calculation?
Sure.
Are you gonna refer to Mr. Lieb's handout?
Oh,
for
yeah,
the parking?
where is Mr. Lee? Wait, I think I have it.
Might be the best thing.
Yeah, you have it on your cover sheet.
Oh,
This
here
is-
it is, here. We have, existing, there's 25 spaces, and then we have the proposed office, 18,000, make sure these are all the same, man. Yeah, 18,480 for office. And then we have mechanical, 11,736. Warehouse storage, 6,571. And then manufacturing assembly, 16,460. All that adds up to a total of 135 required spaces. And we have proposed 54 plus 2 is 56.
Now, you've heard the testimony from Mr. Lieb that there will only be 50 persons on site at any one given time.
Yes,
And you believe that the parking supply meets the parking demand?
I believe it does.
Very good. I think that's, and can the site operate safely and efficiently relative to site circulation?
Yes, he only has the largest trucks are 40-foot trucks. He doesn't have any tractor trailers or anything larger than that. They're typically a single axle box truck is really his largest truck, so maneuvering will not be a problem.
Chairman, can I
Very
ask a
good.
question?
Yeah, Mr. Iannia.
Mr. Stewart, you say his trucks, they're owned by his company or they're suppliers coming in with 40-footers?
Suppliers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So they are trucks by third parties. The site's operated since he began operating, or since the last time he granted the approval in 2020, without any tractor trailers coming to the site, and it'll continue to operate in that fashion should you grant the approval.
Chuck, I'm sure the planner is gonna go through this, but, as far as the parking calculations and the fact that you've already answered that you're comfortable with what the use of this building is gonna be to the spaces that you're providing, there's also, it's also street parking here, correct? You can park, and, from what I saw, it's pretty minimal now. No one uses the curb parking around the neighborhood.
Yeah, I was there before, and there was nobody parked out on the street.
All right, so any overflow could be handled with that also. Any questions for the engineer regarding the site plan or any of the flow?
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, Brian?
I don't know if this pertains to you, but would there be, I guess, my question is, what type of fluids or chemicals are gonna be inside the building, and is there any precautions, or is there biohazards, are there toxins, or
Not the right guy.
not that I got?
That was quick, right to the point. Counselor, Mr. Baskinger's got a legitimate question, whether it be the planner or the owner that is here tonight, you know, if you may have to go through that a little bit. I know.
Yeah, we would probably simply recall Mr. Lieb to answer those questions.
Okay, he's gonna be the representative tonight, that's
Yes.
right, for the,
Yes.
okay, great. Any other questions for Chuck? Seeing none, open it up to the public for any questions for the engineer. Seeing none. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. All right, so stepping up to the plate is Jeff Stiles.
Thank you. With
Professional
regard
planner.
to this application, do you swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth?
I do.
Thank you. State your name, spell your last name for the record.
Jeffrey Stiles, S-T-I-L-E-S,
Is it with a G or a J?
the J.
Thank you.
Stiles, could you give the board your educational and professional qualifications?
Yeah, I'll start with my educational qualifications, which might get some trouble here, because I heard some people talk about certain hockey games. I'm a graduate of the University of Denver.
Ooh.
All I gotta say to this is great goaltending wins champions.
Yes, it does.
Enough
Hear-
said.
Hear that, Mr. Barry?
I don't know if we should qualify him.
I am a
By the
licensed-
way, congratulations on your victory.
We've had a couple, so
Yeah.
we're getting used to it.
Yeah.
I am a licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey. My license is in good standing since 1988. I've spent a lot of money paying dues and licensures. I've testified between numerous boards throughout the state. I've testified here on occasion, but it has been several years since the last time I've been before this board. And I've also consulted to municipalities on planning matters as well.
Okay, and Mr. Stiles, so safe to say you've been qualified as a professional planner by hundreds of land use boards in the state of New Jersey?
That's correct.
And he's accepted, of
Thank you.
course.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Stiles, did you have an opportunity to, at some point in time, visit this site, review the master plan documents, review the development application, and other items comprising the development application?
I have, and I was involved in the application back in 2020. I didn't testify that evening, but I was involved in preparing a planning report. I've been to the site on a number of occasions, both back in 2020 and recently. Been here for all the testimony, so I will not belabor any of the testimony tonight that's already been stated, so that everybody can get home earlier and going on with that. So.
And you also prepared a planning report that was submitted with the development application package. I believe it has a date of February 22nd, 2024.
That is correct.
Okay, and all the items and testimony you just gave, what you reviewed and what you looked at, those form the basis of the opinions in the report and that you're going to give here tonight.
Correct.
Okay. Could you, without really going over stuff that's been covered by Mr. Lieber, by Mr. Stewart, give the board an introduction and the facts that will form the basis of your planning opinions?
Yeah, and I'll just focus on the two variances at hand. As we've had some discussion this evening, we are seeking a floor area ratio variance. That's a D4 variance. As this board, I'm sure, is aware, that variance has somewhat of a lesser standard than a D1 use variance. And the real criteria or the things to really look at when you're judging the merits of an FAR application are, can the site accommodate the floor area ratio that's being proposed? That's the key question here. Can water and sewer be handled, traffic, is there enough parking and all of that? You know, the building itself is not really growing in size. You heard from Mr. Lieb that the vast majority of the modifications here are mechanical equipment. And we had a lot of discussion during the development of the project and my report about how to classify all that mechanical space from a parking perspective, because it's very unusual. The building contains 20 to 25% just mechanical space on its floors. And I did have a conversation with the architect about this, and that this is not space that could be converted easily to other uses. This is a space that's strictly being developed and built to accommodate mechanical equipment. So I don't think the board has to worry that 2 years from now, somebody takes mechanical equipment out and creates office space there. It can't happen. There'd be a major rehab that would have to be done for it. So you heard testimony about the circulation from Mr. Stewart. We'll talk about parking in a few minutes here. But really, what we're proposing to do this is a great adaptive reuse of a building. It's nice to see some industrial space in the state not being converted to warehousing for Amazon and other carriers. This is something, manufacturing is not something we're doing a lot of in the state, and it's very good to see that. You heard from Mr. Lieb about the limited number of employees that are now needed, and I think that's something we're all understanding, that the more robotics and manufacturing process has changed so much in the last 10 years that the density of employees per square foot has really come down and will continue to come down. We're not going to see a day where there's more heavy or need for more people in product development. It's probably going to be less. Do we like that? Maybe not for base employers, but that's the way the world's going, right? So what we have here is, we're increasing the FAR from the variance here was a 35% FAR, so 0.35 is what's allowed by ordinance. Today, before this application, we already exceeded that. You had granted a variance for that 3 years ago, I guess now, in order to accommodate. Now we're seeking to have a 0.634 FAR on the site. And again, I think the important thing there from a perspective of reviewing this is, can the site accommodate that without any potential impacts to the zone plan or the public welfare, if you would, and I'll touch a little bit about that in a minute. So from my perspective, in looking at this application and talking with the operator of the facility, the owner, the architect and all, this square footage addition in the building, this additional FAR, is really a good thing. We're using an existing building. The other way to do something would be a bigger site, more footprint on the floors, bigger building. What we did here was we maximized the use of this building for the exact operation that's happening here. And you heard from Mr. Lee, there's a lot of mechanical equipment here. When I first got involved in this, I was asking a lot of questions because there's so much mechanical equipment and how it would all operate. So this is a great reuse of a building that's been there for a number of years. For the renderings that were shown, it looks much better. It's really a good-looking facility now that wasn't the case a few years ago, and the applicant here should be applauded for what they've done with that site. And I think the town and the board will be very happy once all the pavement work is done and the new landscaping and all. I think it'll be a very attractive site. And I think that even your professionals have acknowledged that this isn't too much of a use on this site. There hasn't been any questions raised about traffic or anything of that nature. So for our positive criteria, I would say that, from the FAR, the D4 variance, we meet the positive criteria standard. Looking at the negative criteria is, would there be a significant impact upon the public good here? You've heard there's no additional noise. Traffic can be accommodated. We have plenty of parking for the use that's being proposed, and I'll talk a little bit about that related to the parking variance. So I think we're protected and the public is protected out there. There's not going to be a big impact to the neighborhood because of this use and this additional FAR that's proposed. The second part of that is, would this be a significant impact upon your zone plan or your zoning ordinance? The real click here is that this is a very specific use, right, that has a very low demand of people involved. It's got a high use of mechanical, and therefore it's a unique use that's being proposed here, and it fits to this property. And I don't think it's something that's going to impact your zoning ordinance or zone plan, because it's not a use that you're going to see all over the place. So this, if you were to grant this variance, it's not something that will proliferate into other requests for similar variances, I'm sure. So turning to the C variance, which is the parking, and you heard Mr. Stewart go through that a little bit. You know, we were very conservative when we did this. We went through, we said, all right, space by space, and that was the purpose of the colored rendering here. The floor plan was to show you how we went through this to determine what the parking was required by ordinance. And as Mr. Stewart went through it, you know, it's 135 required by ordinance, or I guess we get a credit for the two EV spots, for whatever that's really worth. But in any case, you know, the mechanical space, we assigned 1 space per 1,000 square feet. That space is not even gonna be occupied, so that's a given right there. And you heard that no more than 50 people on site at any given moment. So with our 54 parking spaces, we are sure and rest to you that we have sufficient parking on site that there's not gonna be a problem. And I think the chairperson brought up about parking on the street. Yes, there is allowable parking on the street, but we're not planning for any of that. You know, if there was potentially some event that happened once a year or something, maybe a few cars spill out onto that, but we don't foresee any need for that at all, the limited number of employees on the facility. So again, you know, from the positive criteria standpoint, you know, again, we have a unique use here. We've outlined very particular by square foot what uses go where. Mr. Lee was pretty clear on how many employees are utilizing that space. So again, 50 maximum employees, 54 parking spaces provided, even though 135 are required by ordinance. I would suggest to you that, you know, in these type of applications where you have manufacturing, even warehousing now, we're seeing a lot less employees than we did 10 years ago in these facilities for the same square footage. Yeah, even in warehousing, it's robotics, it's, you know, things moving all over the place, not by people, but by, you know, robots or other ways of doing it, conveyors and all. So I think we are gonna see in the industry some lowering of those parking standards pretty generally throughout the country. So from a positive criteria, I think we have sufficient parking to make sure there's not gonna be an issue out there. It's not gonna spill out onto the streets and affect adjoining properties or affect the roadways. And again, from the negative criteria, there's no real impact here to your zoning ordinance, zone plan, because again, this very specific use of this property, that's not something that you see every day. So I think from that perspective, I'm comfortable that the applicant meets both the positive and negative criteria standards, both for the D4 variance for the floor area ratio, as well as the C variance for parking.
Questions from the board?
That's our directive, Mr. Stiles. Welcome questions.
Mr. Stiles, well, if this is a fair question, but I'm going to ask your opinion of it anyway. When the last time the applicant was here, he was renting the building. Now he's the owner, and it seems like he's making a tremendous monetary investment into the property. Could you correlate the fact that now that he owns it and he's putting this kind of investment in, that you would be comfortable that he's putting in something in this site that will fit and will be comfortable in the community and flow with what Fairfield is looking to do?
Yeah, and I would agree with you that there's a substantial investment being made in this property. I can't even imagine what this equipment all costs, right? So I think the community and this board can rest assured that this investment is something that's a long-term investment. It's not somebody that's gonna, a couple of years from now, leave the area and you know, leave all this equipment behind. So I think the property owner and the operator's facility is making that investment a long-term investment, which will be good for this community. It takes a piece of property and puts on tax rolls you know, which is great for the community. And let's be honest, it was an older building that was in need of upgrading, and this applicant has done that, and the tax rolls will show it, I'm sure.
Other planning questions? John?
Just one.
Sure.
When I look at the floor plan, the mezzanine area, is it fair to say that they're pretty much maxed out? That there's, given the floodplain, given the floor plan, there's not really much more room to grow here. So what we're looking at is a pretty stable use. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, there's no more space internally to grow, right? So if something were to happen, it would have
And
to
then
be
expanding the building would be problematic.
Jerry, make a motion. Floodway and everything else, it would be very
So if anything, the 50 employees, if there's more robotics and more mechanization, I mean, is it fair to say that that's really the max we could expect here?
Yeah, I can't imagine more than that. And I've been out to the site when there's 22 employees in now. I think there's 6 cars in the parking lot.
Yeah.
A few times I've been out there. And according to the owner, a lot of his employees carpool. They live in Jersey City, other places, so 4 of them will carpool to the site.
So essentially, what you see is what you're getting. Thank you.
Other questions? Seeing none. Open it up to the public for questions for the planner. Seeing none. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stiles.
want to follow up on the architect
Yeah, maybe we could bring Mr. Lieb up real quick to talk
Sure.
about the toxins or with some of the questions Mr. Baskinger had about.
Sure.
Still under oath, Mr. Lieb.
Mr. Lee, thanks for coming back up. As you heard, Board Member Bassinger had some questions about the chemicals being used in the facility.
Yeah, so I'd like to know if there's any biohazards or toxins as a part of the waste?
No, there are
What's
no-
being produced on, as an ultimate product?
I can't say exactly what the drug is because it's top secret. But
And you know what he would have to do to you if he told you.
Yeah.
Okay.
But even I don't know what the drugs are, but I do know that they are life-saving and they're injectables that go into hospitals and what so forth. But there are no toxins. I have talked with the owner extensively because I'm working on the designs of the spaces. There's no biohazards, and of course, we're not putting any EV under the parking, but we're also, it's a fully sprinklered facility. We have all the fire ratings, and if there's any containment of any small levels of chemicals, it's all per or exceed the code in terms of how we contain it.
Thank you.
So we don't have to be concerned about any noxious fumes emanating or stored at the facility, something like that?
Not to be funny, but every time I come there, I get knocked out by David's cookies.
That's a good one. So do I.
So it can't be any stronger than, no, there's no noxious fumes. I've been working with the owner, I think, for almost 3 years. There's no fumes. Now, they aren't producing. It's all lab testing right now and R&D, but there are no fumes produced. And there's, I think it was Mr. Iania?
Close enough.
Who asked about, and I spoke with the owner, there's scrubbers there, air scrubbers, so all the air and particles are treated just like the clean rooms are.
Mr. Chairman, I have
Yeah.
a question. You mentioned that there was a boiler and there's probably some cleaning in place that takes place on the equipment that's processing so you're producing a drug, correct?
Yes,
So the equipment has to be cleaned and sanitized, correct?
yes, sterilized,
Okay.
yes.
The waste from the cleaning and sanitizing, what happens with that? Is that recycled? Is that put in a containment? Is there solids going into the
No, there's no solids going into the sewer.
Okay.
There's a very, I've seen the drawings and everything and talked with different components of the team. There's a very extensive system for
wastewater treatment?
For wastewater treatment.
Okay.
You know,
That's
so
the
I
answer
didn't
I
use
was
the
looking
word,
for.
but the wastewater treatment, there's a very extensive system of stainless steel pipes and everything going to all different components to break down the particles.
Okay.
Also to that effect, I believe they're highly regulated and that there's tests routinely that have to be done
If they're
on everything.
treating wastewater, I'm sure there is.
Reports have to be filed.
Right. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Mattel?
Yes, just for the record, there's no animal testing involved.
None to my knowledge.
Having been at the site, it didn't appear that way, but it's not in full operation yet.
I don't think so.
They make candy.
None to my knowledge.
And there's no animal testing cages and such shown
Right.
on the
There's
floor
no-
plan, so
it-
it's my understanding that
there's
there's
no
none
testing.
there now, and there won't be
Right.
there any
There's no testing
going
of that
forward.
type. The testing is, I think, in test tubes and incubation and that type of thing.
Any other questions about operations for the architect?
Mr. Chairman, one more
Yes,
question.
Len.
Mr. Lee, just Any idea of hours of operation?
Um,
I know it's minimal impact because of the number of employees.
I believe, at least
Just,
all the times I've been there, it's about 8:30 or 9 to about 6.
Okay, so it's around one
And-
shift operation.
Yeah. I
7
don't know when the
days a week?
production- I don't
Traditional
know
hours?
In terms of the production, I can't say, but I believe it's just a normal business hours.
Is it
Thank you.
5 days a week, weekends?
The applicant would comply with, if there's any regulations in the land use ordinance that
Okay, got it.
govern, well, we would comply with those. I'm not sure that there are.
I was just curious.
I'm glad you kept what they're doing a secret, because if they're making Mongiorno shots, I'm first in line. I'm just telling you that now. Any other questions of the architect for operations? Seeing none, I'm sure there's no one in the audience have any questions. Thank you again, Mr. Lieb.
You're welcome.
So with all that said, see, it's approaching 9:30. I don't really see a need to sum up unless you would like me to, but we do request that the board grant.
Public? Yeah.
In any event, we request that the board grant the site plan approval and the D4 variance and the C variance for parking. As you've heard, we have proposing 50 employees to come and go from the site. We think that the site plan can be approved and those variances can be approved as well. Beyond that, there's really not much more to say. I think that our professionals covered this application in painstaking detail, and I think you have more than enough evidence before you to grant the site plan approval and the variances.
And just, I would have opened it up to the public, but for comments at this point, but there's nobody here for that, so. All right, so.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry if I jumped the gun.
No, it's all right.
Mr. Chairman, I would
Yeah.
like clarification on the hours of operation.
I think they said whatever our ordinances permit, they will abide by. If it's 7 days a week, if they want to do 7, you know, if it's more specific, that'd be great.
The owner's here, could we have a,
I can go ask him.
Yeah.
thank you.
Who are the owners of this place? These guys?
It's very, very difficult language-wise.
Okay. I didn't know they were the owners.
So I spoke to the owner. The production can go from 7 in the morning to about 11 o'clock at night. Most of the office workers would be there normal business hours.
Is that 7 days a week or 5 days a week?
I didn't get that. I'll go back and.
Bring them up.
Who cares? Where it is. Office, what, 9 to 5?
For now, the plan is 5 days a week. That could change in the future.
Okay.
He probably hopes it'll go to 7.
The office was what, 9 to 5 or 8:30 to 4:30?
The office would be normal business hours, whether that be 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., but the production could go, like we said, shifts.
Your firm at 7 a.m. to midnight, right?
Some of the associates work that much, but in the good old days, they were there at 7 in the morning.
Yeah, right. Not anymore.
Okay.
All right, so, back to us then.
Yes.
Okay, comments or motion? I was out there, I was out at the site, and Mr. Metallo and Mr. Carmagnola were today too. And it's an impressive building. The work they're doing construction-wise is immaculate and high quality of work. The site is impressive. The most impressive thing that I've seen is, I have no idea how much money they're gonna spend on this equipment, but it just seems like extraordinarily high amount of money. I really like the fact that I found out that they were renting at the time they got the first approvals they bought, which means this investment, he's investing it into his own building. And I was also very impressed with the professionals and the way they did their job today for the owner. I think all the professionals, handled themselves real well and were very informative. You know, FAR, it's a massive FAR ask, it's a massive parking lot ask, but I think, me personally, they gave all the logics to why it fits and why it should be granted. And when I'm voting tonight, I'm gonna vote in favor of the application. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Jerry.
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Honorata.
Okay, so I would move to approve application number 2019-7(2), close paren, which is an application, I believe, for a FAR variance and a C variance. And I think as part of the FAR variance, they need a D variance according to.
Yes, D4, D4.
So that would be my motion to give them those approvals, subject to whatever conditions that have been put in place.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Travato is a second. Roll call, please, again, with Mr. Moriano out, Mr. Ianni a voting member.
Mr. Honorata,
Yes.
Mr. Metallo,
Yes.
Mr. Baskinger,
Yes.
Mr. Travato,
Yes.
Mr. Carmagnola,
Yes.
Mr. Iania,
Yes.
Chairman Lepari.
Yes. Good luck, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the board. Appreciate your time.
And just to finish up, make a motion to pay the bills.
Make a motion.
Mr. Ianni, a second.
I'll second
Mr.
it.
Carmagnolo, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion to close.
Motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we're out of here. Please shut your mics off, gentlemen.